Good morning, sir. Can you hear me over there? I can't hear you here. Hello, sir.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I,
I can
I guess
get
that
you
I
now.
yes.
Okay, it's good now. I can hear you now.
Okay. All right, sir.
Good morning once again. You are welcome to our sport business. When we talk about sport business, we talk about how the athletes make their money in the sports industry, how clubs make their money in football. Same thing with the basketball, same thing with the volleyball, tennis, and all sport general. So I have with us this morning a sports solicitor based in UK who's going to tell us and enlighten us more, educate us more about when we talk about players' contract and when we talk about athlete contract as well. Because it's going to take a lot of time for us, and I don't maybe we can finish the show today. If not, maybe we continue next time. But this is going to be a great platform for you guys to be educated more when you talk about sports education. And not only that, talking about the contract and employment for athletes generally, not only football players, same thing with all the athletes when it comes to the industry of football and sports generally, not even in football anymore. But we as an agency here, we focus more on the football aspect. But not only that, we want to see how we can enlighten people out there so they can gain from our sports solicitor. It's free of charge. But one thing I believe in life, nothing is free in life. What I believe in life is free salvation. There one person has paid here and there, but at least we're going to be giving this to our viewers free of charge and see how things going to be. And not only that, we're also looking for sponsorship as time goes on and see how we can promote each other in this platform, giving the education fellow to the viewers listening to us. I welcome my sports solicitor based in UK. My sports solicitor, please can you introduce yourself to our viewers too?
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Tosin Akinyemi. I'm a lawyer who provides services in the sports industry. I founded Sport Licitors in 2017, and since then we've been providing services to athletes, be footballers, sprinters, coaches, clubs, and the rest of them. Yeah, so it's a privilege to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much, my sports solicitor. It's my pleasure again to be here. Let me tell my name to the viewers back home so that they don't look as if I don't want to tell them my name. My name is CEO Rain Soccer Football Agency, headquarters based in Lisbon in Portugal. Also have a branches here in Nigeria, another African country, and Southern African country. My name is Tolawale, popularly known as Sir White by his football partners and the lovers general over the world. Yeah, today our sports solicitor is going to be discussing on what we are talking about, understanding the football employment contract. And this has been outlined up to seven numbers. I is going to be differentiating it, going into it, break it down one by one for us to know more about the football employment contracts. Not only that, this also work for footballers, also other athletics. So it's just for you to gain your information and to be more enlightened and be more educated about this contract. First on the list will be introduction about the football employment contract. After that, we move into the essential negotiates with bracket or minimum content. And then number 3, we're going to be form. 4 is going to be length. While the 5th one is going to be signature. While the 6th one is going to be language. And the 7th one will be invite prevent conditions. So without taking much of our time, let's our sports solicitor come to start with number 1 for which is introduction, sir. We give it on to you, sir. Go ahead, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Just as a way of general introduction, in life, quite a number of things are bound, are bound by agreements, by promises exchanged between parties. So even outside of football, it could be maybe in the general marketplace, it could be maybe in the church, it could be in the maybe petroleum industry, it could be in the marine industry and the rest of them. People always make promises to each other. If you do this for me, I'll give you this. Or if you do this for me, I would also do this. So those promises are exchanged. And generally, sometimes people put such promises exchanged, into writing, while in some cases, some don't put it into writing, and that's what you have as an oral agreement. So generally, contracts are, promises exchanged between parties which the law is going to enforce, So, but in respect of this episode, we're going to focus more on, football employment contracts. So, in the general scheme of things, as per national laws, the general law of contracts, there are certain terms, which are peculiar to contracts in general. But when it comes to football as well, there are certain things which are expected to be in it. And these are some of the things which we are going to discuss during this program. It's usually important to have a contract because disputes usually arise. And when disputes arise, the contract is usually a vital component of resolving that issue because parties are able to now go back to what they agreed on and they can hold themselves or whoever is trying to breach it liable. Yeah. So.
All right. Thank you very much, my sports solicitor. Just let us know some very important ingredients when you're talking about the introduction of having a football contract employment for players. The second on the list is going to go to the essential negotiate. So how does that one comes? How does it go?
FIFA, from some of the decisions that FIFA has given, it terms it as the essential negotee of football contracts. So generally, parties are free to agree on anything, generally as per contract. I'm not even talking about football now. Parties are free to agree on whatever they want to be bound by, and whatever they do not want to be bound by. But as far as football employment contracts are concerned, if you want a football employment contract to be binding, that means to be recognized as valid, then there are certain things that the parties have no choice but to include. If they decide not to include any other thing, maybe like maybe traveling allowances, or maybe you have to stay in this particular city, or maybe some kind of other kind of clauses, they are free to. However, there are some that are non-negotiable and they have to be in it, and there are 5 in number. And over time, FIFA has actually, given decisions in respect of this. And as time will permit us, we'll be able to see what the 5 of those compulsory clauses should be. The first one is actually, and this is very important, especially for footballers, and even coaches as well, because sometimes when players want to sign contracts, most of them are just interested in how much money am I going to be paid. So you find circumstances where some of them they skip through every part of it and just try to see, okay, how much money. Once they see that amount of money, they feel like that's all.
Crazy.
And yes, and in some circumstances, yes. And in some circumstances, you know, it may not have some of all those other important clauses that are supposed to be there. Yeah. So in essence, one, a player or, you know, whoever is looking to sign such an employment contract must make sure that the names of the parties are there. You know, the names of the parties being the football club and the player himself. And now let me talk about the football club. By FIFA regulations, a football club is only a party or an entity, where it could be a football club or an academy that is affiliated with a sports football association that is affiliated with a football. So that means that that football club must have registered with the football association, maybe of their state or maybe of their country. That is what makes such a club a recognized football club as far as football employment contracts are concerned. So it will not be enough that such a party, which is a club, is registered with, let's say, the Corporate Affairs Commission. If they are not registered with the FA of their state, as far as as far as FIFA regulations are concerned, they are not a football club because they are not affiliated. So it's not just enough to say that, oh, the name of a football club is written. You have to know whether, you know, they are really affiliated with a football association. So the names of the parties must be there. That's the club. Then the player's name must be there. And let me give an instance of some of the things which maybe a player may have to look out for. So you shouldn't allow maybe a sports marketing company to be the one employing you as far as a football employment contract is concerned. So you can't have something as maybe STI Football Marketing Company Limited as the employer as far as a football employment contract is concerned. Because if a dispute arises and that matter is to be taken before a football tribunal, especially FIFA Football Tribunal, since they are not a football club, FIFA would not have power over such a party. FIFA would only have power over a party that is affiliated with
Yes.
the
Association.
association.
Affiliated
So
with.
exactly. So sports marketing companies, football foundations, and the rest of them. So it's not enough that such a party does something related to football or sports. The question, they have to be affiliated, to be recognized. Then the second one is actually the duration. It must have a duration. So you can't have a football contract that does not have a duration. It's just put out there infinite without stating its starting time or an ending time. In some circumstances, such a contract could be based on years. So it could be maybe 2 years. Sometimes it could be based on 2 seasons, maybe 2021, 2022 season and 2022, 2023 season. So those are fine, but there has to be a recognized duration. Also, it has to have the duties of the parties. So what is expected of the parties to do? For instance, for a football player, it could have duties such as maybe this player is supposed to attend training, supposed to turn up to play, during the football matches of the club and things like that. Those duties have to be there. If it's for a football coach, or maybe to be able to take control of training, select players and the rest of them. Even clubs have duties as well, or to provide facilities for the player to be able to train, to pay also amount of money as the salaries or bonuses of the player and the rest of them. So those duties of the parties have to be there. We've talked about the names of the parties, we've talked about duration, and now we've talked about the duties. The fourth one is that there has to be remuneration. So what does the player stand or coach stand to benefit from this contract? Especially for a professional player. A professional player is playing to get wages. So a club can't say, oh, I signed this player to this contract, but there's no recognized remuneration for that player to get. The remuneration could be in form of salaries, it could be in form of bonuses, it could be in non-monetary form as well. It could be maybe an official car, it could be maybe an apartment, it could be maybe a return ticket, maybe 2 return tickets, especially for players that sign in another country. So maybe a Norwegian that signs in, let's say, Belgium. There are circumstances the club may say, okay, we'll be providing you with 2 return tickets from Norway to Belgium, and back, in a single year. Those are part of the remunerations. And one important thing is this. I've generally noticed that in respect of Nigerian players, a player or maybe a coach should make sure that all the agreed benefits should be included in their contract. There are circumstances where a club would say, we'll pay you this basic salary of, let's say, so amount. But in respect of bonuses, match bonuses, maybe for when they win or an away win and the rest of them, or maybe an official car and the rest of them, it will just be oral promises, and which is not good enough, because if any dispute arises and the player is trying to enforce such a remuneration, it may be difficult. And I'll give an instance. I once represented a Ghanaian player before FIFA against a club in Nigeria. He had a similar issue. The basic salary was included in the contract, but there was a sign-on fee of about 5 million naira, which it was supposed to be paid. And at that time, quite some years ago, it was still, good money. It was quite difficult to be able to enforce that, to get that from the club, because it was not included. So in essence, for the remunerations, a player or maybe a coach should not settle for some of the remunerations being written, while some others are left out. Such a person should insist that all the remunerations that are due to me in this contract, please, I'd like to have them included. So we've talked about the names of the parties. We've talked about the duties, the duration,
and the
yes,
salary.
the salary, yes, the remuneration and stuff.
Of the party is concerned.
Yes, and the final one, which is also very important, is the signature of the parties, because it's part of what makes such a contract to be binding. You can't make an allegation or make an assertion that a club signed you to a contract, or maybe such a contract that you present does not have the signature of the parties. In fact, even a club can't say, this player signed an employment contract with us, and such an employment contract that is provided by the club does not have a signature. How would the club be able to prove or enforce that genuinely there was an agreement between the parties? So all these are essential to be in a football employment contract. If any one of them is missing, it may be difficult to enforce a football employment contract. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the essential negotiates that you just enlightened our viewer more about it. But I have a question. In the areas that when we look at the salary and signature, names and duty, I think, is it not for the area where the football manager can come in, the manager of the players or the agency or marketing agent that is marketing the player can come in as a head of assistance, to guide the player, to put the player through? Because to be honest, most clubs are not always very faithful with players. They try to be on their own side, to save their own side. While, to be honest as well, the players are also not unfaithful as well, because they try to eat it all, not knowing that everything has division of labor. The part the agent should be able to play, the part the marketing agent should be able to play.